So you're doing 20 to 30K months. The clients keep on coming, but on the back end, you're really just starting to burn out. That was us. We had the revenue, but really, we had 100% of the responsibility. If you're feeling stuck at your current level, the chances are that you are the bottleneck, just like we were. Inside this video, we're going to walk you through the exact same systems that we've implemented and are implementing to unbottleneck us from our business. So from playbooks to KPIs to really strategic hires to remove ourselves as those bottlenecks that helped us break through the ceiling without sacrificing client results in our lifestyle that we're looking to create. We'll also walk you through the one mindset shift that you ultimately need to finally start scaling sustainably in your business. So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so I think the real problem is the plateau problem. And I think that comes from, not a sign of failure in your business, but a sign that you just aren't relying on your systems, or maybe you don't even have any, right? So where do you feel like you start to see for yourself and then also for our clients that they're starting to almost burn out or they are the bottleneck in their business? What is that plateau problem?
Yeah, it's definitely literally you're wearing all the hats, right? At that point, you're doing the marketing, you're doing the sales, you're doing the content, you're doing the coaching, you're doing all the things, right? Wearing all the hats. And, I think in the beginning, you are going to do that, right? But there's got to be a point where you're like, okay, I need help. I need to be able to focus in my lane. And that is where the plateau usually happens. It's either going to make or break you at that point.
Yeah, I feel like how I would summarize that is you can't hold more clients without more infrastructure to your business.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're reaching a plateau right now, you're probably feeling a bit of burnout, or you're realizing you're at capacity with the clients that you can take because there's only one of you. What you're doing right now is maxing out your growth, where you're probably finding yourself sacrificing your lifestyle goals. Your calls are breaching into your time off because you simply just don't have more time in your working hours to expand your capacity.
Yeah, you're at your max capacity in the sense of you can't possibly do every single role efficiently to the level to run a business that's holding 30K months.
Yeah.
And that's where you're like, okay, I'm gonna need some help.
Yeah, some areas are probably lacking a lot, whether that be your content and your social media growth, whether that be your community and the level at which you're showing up, or it's probably showing up as well in client results. Maybe you're letting client things fall through the cracks, or clients are missing meetings and you're not aware of that because you're so busy working in the business that it's hard to work on it and keep strategically scaling. So I think a couple signs of where you should fire yourself, or where it's time to really bring in help, is when we kind of already said you're lacking time, you're maybe bottlenecking delivery, or you're feeling like you're overwhelmed and overworked by certain things, or maybe even inconsistent client results because you're so scattered all over the place that it's hard for you to be super efficient in your zone of genius.
Yeah, because you're literally doing everything in it, and at that point you're every day when you wake up you're like, oh, I have to be 10 different roles in my business every single day. Obviously that's not doable, especially on the long-term side of it.
Yeah.
You're going to reach burnout.
Yeah. So I think for me personally, I would always self-sabotage when things get too full, because I'm like, oh, this is getting really uncomfortable. I want to go back to where it is comfortable. And so that's where if right now you're experiencing 20, 30, even 50K months, but then you find yourself fall back to your comfort zone, whether that be 20K consistent, even 10K consistent, you might hit those higher income levels and then you fall back to a plateau. So I'd be curious right now, if you did almost an audit of your past 6 or 12 months in business, what is that plateau number that's comfortable for you? Because that will show you that at that level, you're not breaking your systems yet. But you trying to reach above that income stability level is where you start to break your current level of systems, where it's like this plateau that you're either breaking through once and falling back, or maybe you start to be consistent at that higher level of income, but that's where it burns you out because your systems they're not structured to keep you at that level.
Yeah, 100% agree with that.
Yeah, so then I think what would be cool is if we kind of talk about what we've done to break through, because I even know from a community perspective, you were feeling really overwhelmed with needing to be the face of our community 24/7. But then when we started bringing in people to even not replace you because they're doing their own accounts.
Yeah.
But what has that done for you? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's given me peace of mind, I guess is the word, peace of mind, in the sense of being able to just let go, and you have to trust. I feel like that's a big part too with entrepreneurs. We lack trust in other people, especially when it's when it's something so dear to our heart as far as our business as a whole. So I think you have to let go and realize like who you hired to do that position. You almost want to find somebody that's easily better than you, right?
Yeah.
If it's a sales, I think in general everyone's a salesperson, right? You're always selling yourself in something. But from my standpoint, like from like, let's say you're doing like a deconstruction thing, you have to essentially master that eventually, like in the beginning, but then you have to, pass the baton eventually to someone else, because if you're going to be staying in your zone of genius, and maybe it is to wear that hat to coach and to teach CRMs and all the back end stuff that she teaches, that's something that you need to be able to hand the marketing side or the sales over to somebody else. This way they can stay in that lane and they could really focus all that attention and energy specifically to that sector versus just spreading it out.
Well, and I think that's to the point, Steve, is you have to be clear what you're the best at. And I think that becomes more and more apparent when your time becomes spread.
Yeah.
More and more amongst different things, as you start to realize, like for me personally, I'm like, why am I editing our videos? Why am I the one repurposing that content? Like, I can do it. I've done it. I've spent hours and hours and hours of my life doing that. But does that need to be me to keep growing this business? No. And in fact, it shouldn't be, because I'm not the best at it. I also don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I need to do what is needed of Jamie to keep this business moving. And so the more you can figure out what is that zone of genius for you, like Steve, yours is very clearly showing up and doing group calls and engaging in our community and keeping the community going. Like, that is clearly your zone that you're needed in.
Yeah, and as well as like I like collaboration, and I like looking at that big domino, and if I knock that domino over, what else will fall? So for me, that's where my brain goes in that strategy. And that's what I love personally. So obviously we recommend usually what you like and what you're good at is usually something that you also love.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that I look for as well. But we wouldn't be able to grow to this level if we didn't have team members, right?
Yeah.
And that goes for if you look at all these big businesses, right? The owners are very much in the back end overseeing the team as a whole, and the team is just executing, right? And they're delivering. And if they're not, there's obviously a conversation to be had. But that's really, at the level when you're at that 20, 30K months, you shouldn't be going ahead and buy Lambos and start buying all these things. You should be putting it into the business and looking at, like, if I put money here, what result will that get me here? Yeah. And that's really building the team.
I think that's one thing, even from the beginning of running this business, I've never been afraid to invest in team members, because I know that what got you here won't get you there. And so the more you can remove yourself from the places that you're the bottleneck and bring the right people in, the more you're going to keep growing, because you get to stay in your zone of genius. And I think now where we're at, like personally, Steve, I think how I see our business is now we're freeing ourselves and letting go of working in the business completely to work on it by putting people in the right place to continue helping us integrate in the business, to help keep the business moving, so that we can work on the high level strategy, the events, the retreats, like the things that need our expertise now to keep moving the strategy forward. Like, that's what we're working on now.
Totally. Yeah. And the biggest thing obviously for us personally, and it should be for every single business in general, is support and results. And that to us is a standard we hold very high. And that's what we bring to our team members as well. And we, there's times where I'm literally coaching our DM people and our seekers and our setters, and I'm just literally just teaching them mindset, right? Because they're human beings, and they need that, and we all do. So at the end of the day, like, you should be hiring, yes, but you should also be coaching and training these people and making them, the snipers that they are, and constantly improving their skill set.
Yeah, this is where you get to show up now, not just as a coach and a leader for your clients, but as a coach and a leader for your team. that dynamic just starts to shift. And that's where you're going to start to rely more heavily on your systems and your processes. Like every time our team approaches me with some new question or some new request, or they're lacking clarity on how do they hand off a lead in our system, for example, like that's where I have to go build a system for that. And I have to add that into our company playbooks, because I know that if one person's going to ask it, it's going to come up again and again and again. And I need everybody to be on the same page. And so that's where we've recently started relying really heavily on our SOPs, our KPIs, our playbooks.
Our systems,
Our systems, yeah. So if you want to watch a video where I deep dive exactly how we're creating SOPs and playbooks for our business, this is the video for you right here, because I just filmed a deep dive on that and gave you a playbook to creating playbooks that you can help implement to actually be able to hire your first or your next member onto your team. So I think the biggest hire for Steve was help with community managers, because they've helped to really duplicate his efforts. And then for me, my biggest hire, I would say, was our full-time executive assistant, because that's been someone who's been able to take over the tech stuff, booking calls, onboarding new clients, streamlining our SOPs, helping hold our helping hold our team members accountable to their KPIs. Like, it's just somebody who's become this extension of me. And he's better at the tech stuff than I ever could be. So if we have a client reach out and need help with something, they actually are starting to know to actually just ask him, because he's who I refer them to for questions like that, because he's better than that at me.
Yeah.
And so you want to hire someone who's better at a task than me. Even our clients that come and they say like, hey, I'm struggling with engagement, or I'm struggling to get traffic. I'm like, look, Steve is your guy for that. And so your clients then start to realize who on your team does what thing. And so they stop relying on you for everything. They start going to your version of Steve, or your version of Vin. It's pretty cool.
And there's a power when you say like, no, I don't do that side.
Yes.
I don't. And there's one thing, like obviously when you're first starting, but obviously if you're at 20, 30K months, you're not just starting. But there's a level where you're like, nope, that's not me. I can maybe help you, but I'm not the expert in that area.
And
we
you
have
do that too about systems.
Yeah,
like me.
I'm very clear with our clients, but also just peers. Just like, hey, I don't focus in the CRM side. I don't do the back end side. I'm very like not in that area. I might know a little bit here and there, but I'm going to direct you to somebody that's going to be able to really serve and help you. Yeah. I'm not that guy. I can help you with this, but I can't help you with that. And when you say that and you have that clarity, I think there's a lot of power in that, and a lot of respect for the other person on the receiving end. And they're like, man, this guy's like, he's not just pretending to think he knows everything. He specifically focuses on a specific area, and he like annihilates that area. He just totally kills it in that sector.
Yeah, and like one thing I can think of too is Gabby. So like we have someone inside of our paid program, and she does client success for some of our clients that we have currently. And we also have her do trainings on exactly how to use our CRM. And so now our clients obviously see her as the authority for learning the CRM. So questions that used to come to me and requests to jump on calls with me about the CRM, now our clients are like, hey, I want to talk to her. I want to get on a call with her. Because we have shown her authority in that space. They're not just relying on me for everything or Steve for everything. They're starting to see who does what in this company. So now they feel fully supported, and they also don't feel like they're fully bombarding like me with all those requests because they're starting to leverage the full team. So it's just for scalability, if you see the potential there, it's huge, because it's not just everything going to one person, which was one of my biggest bottlenecks, was all the requests were going to me before. And so even last week to have someone request a call because they want to learn more about the CRM. I had 2 people request a call last week. They weren't requesting it with me. They were requesting it with our team member. And so that was cool, just to know that first off, I'm saving time from that call, but also we're leveraging other people's zone of geniuses, not just mine.
Let go and trust, right?
Yeah.
And kind of like, I love analogies, but like for me, like there's obviously, everyone knows there's a general practitioner, right? Somebody that's just very general. They know everything about everything. But for me, if I have a neurological condition, for example, I want to see a neurologist, right? I want to see a specialist in that area. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with general practitioners, but for me, I want that peace of mind when I'm having some type of neurological issue. I want to see someone that specializes in neurological issues, right? And that's kind of the same concept with us, right? If I have a specific aspect on our team that somebody needs help with, and they do that to their day-to-day, and they're obviously the expert in it, I'm going to go ahead and refer them over there, even though I might be the owner of the business, but I'm not somebody that just knows it all, right? I know little pieces here and there, but I specialize in a specific area.
Yeah, and so I think that's where, like, growing your team, I guess the point I think we're trying to make here is, like, it doesn't have to just be internal. where you're the only one who knows this team member exists. In fact, I think the more that you can make it clear, look, we have community managers. Here they are. Introduce yourself to them. Get to know them. And hey, these are the team members we're working with. Lean on them for their expertise, not just keeping them like behind closed doors, so to speak. I think the more you're going to free yourself long term and be able to scale with more clients.
Totally. Yeah, and I think too, like if you look at it from your client's perspective, right? They know, let's say, Jimmy does this and Jen does that. Like they just know like to go to Jen for that and then go to Jimmy for that specifically, versus just having to go to you every single time. So in a way, it actually positions you as well higher as far as the authority as well. So just look at it from that perspective, from the user perspective as well.
Yeah. So that's one of the things we've done, is just really started to hire where it hurts and fire ourselves from things, but also make those hires client facing as well as doing things internally. That way we're not the only ones who people are leaning on for support. They're starting to leverage our team more. I would say that another huge thing that we've done to really continue to scale is redesigning our client journey. So looking A to Z, from the moment someone signs up to our program to the moment that they graduate, what does that exact process look like? From the worksheets we need from them, to the touch points with our team, to the calls they should be showing up to at which stage of the journey, just getting really clear on what that looks like so that you can trim the fat, cut the fluff, and just have that curated journey. I think that's what we're leaning on more and more. And how do we streamline and systemize that journey and even automate specific things that hold our clients more accountable to those KPIs we want them from? Like, I would say that right now, Steve, this is our biggest focus, is like redesigning the entire client journey to facilitate higher quality results, better results for our clients, so that we can keep growing and know that the product that we're trying to get into the hands of more people is actually worthy of being in more people. Like that's our core focus right now. Yeah,
it is. It's always, you should always be refining the process and the roadmap, right, for your client. And it's generally just speaking, it's just like, it's their experience going through it from start to finish. And that's the experience that you should make it. You should make it a place where people, they feel heard, they feel supported, but they also, with the material that you're giving throughout the roadmap, it's stuff that's going to help them achieve those goals down the line.
Yeah, and I think like, to put it simply for you, is what are your milestones that your client would be experiencing? So, for example, what milestone are they on currently, and what's their next milestone that they should reach? And if you can just keep that clear for the entire client journey, I think milestones are a great first step in this.
Yeah.
So I think actually first step would be your client journey roadmap. So like, what is the journey you might take someone through in your entire process? And then from there, it's like, what are the specific milestones that the client would be achieving at each step of that journey? And then it's beginning to really optimize that back end to help them hit their next milestone as efficiently as possible. Make it clear what they should be doing in order to do that. And so I think breaking that down even further, roadmap, milestones, KPIs. Like KPIs for your clients, just like you would have for yourself, just like you would have for your team, you should have that for your clients in a way to hold them accountable to that, or help them hold themselves accountable to hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to really refine right now.
Yeah, and obviously the KPIs is huge, obviously, with your team, yourself. I believe if you're the owner or somebody that's like, the founder of it, you should be way passing those KPIs, right? Because you're like the most invested, you're the biggest believer, obviously, you should be, at least in your product. But for us, the KPIs is so important. It should be definitely implemented, but also held accountable.
Yeah.
And it should be like literally the thing in front of all of your coworkers' space is like their KPIs every single day.
Yeah.
And if they don't hit those numbers, there's a conversation to be had. And that right there is, that's the part of business that, we all don't want, is to have those hard conversations, but they need to be had. So
totally. That's part of the leading your team example of that. And I think when you rebuild your coaching program, you're not starting from scratch. Nothing we do is ever starting from scratch. We're just refining what processes we already have in place with our upgraded knowledge of how the process should work. And so we're rebuilding our program with future coaches in mind, realizing we need to take what's up in here and we need to make it systemized and streamlined so we could plug in other coaches who could easily hold our clients just accountable to our system that we've already created. Like that's what we're really refining right now and fine tuning is like, how can we make this as easy as possible for a coach to step in and hold our clients accountable to our system that we've already developed fully? That's your challenge right now.
Yeah.
Is to start to do that. Cool, so we want to talk about the one shift to break the ceiling. So if you remember nothing else from this entire video, you need to find where you're the bottleneck and fire yourself from that thing. And start to take what's up here and really just systemize and streamline that so that you're replaceable in that task for somebody who will do it better than you because you need to be focused on your zone of genius.
Yeah, you almost like in a sense you want to protect your energy because you only have 24 hours in a day, and how are you going to best utilize that as a whole? So if it's something like video editing, but let's say you're a content creator, but you're not a content editor, like you should literally have a role for that, right? A specific role, and they should be better than you as well, right? So maybe they love it and they're also really good at it. That's a great role to, delegate to someone else.
So build the system once, train someone once, and then stop doing that task.
Yeah.
So inside of our free community, we're going to really be sharing the exact same frameworks, our playbooks, and really our systems that we're installing inside of our business to continue scaling without burnout or without it taking over our entire life so that we can still create that freedom-based lifestyle. We'd love to welcome you inside of our free community, Magnetic Memberships.
Yeah, love to see you guys inside.
We'll see you inside and we'll drop a link below this video. Bye.